What's up everybody, Rob here with Adventure Bound Offroad. In today's video, I'm going to be introducing you to the YJ project. So we started this project with a 1988 YJ, and as you can tell, I've already stripped it down. That was kind of the boring part. I got the tub off the frame, cut all the brackets off of it, cleaned everything, and now we are ready to start building. So the purpose of this rig is going to be a pre-runner for me. So my life goal has been to race King of the Hammers, and I've always wanted to do that. And there's so much that goes into that. And the first step, in my opinion, is to learn Johnson Valley. If you can go out and you can pre-run and you can learn the trails and you know the desert, it just adds to the chances of you being successful. So this is going to be the first step to us chasing, conquering King of the Hammers. So this Jeep is going to have an LS1, a Kingpin 60 front, a 14 bolt rear, coilovers, trailing arm. It's going to be able to go fast and hit the rocks. We are going to build this around a 40. We are going to be running 4800 class when that time comes, but I want to be able to go and put some ground behind us and learn all the trails out in Johnson Valley. So for today's project, we are going to be working on the back half. So I've already cut the back portion of the frame off, and I have tacked together these Artec back half brackets. So you can see I've modified them, and that was for my suspension bracket. So I've cut out and clearanced the back half bracket so that way I can sandwich the frame with my suspension bracket. I've cut out areas so that way I can get good weld penetration for all the brackets and the frame and make a good solid connection point between all of those. The reason that I notched this so my suspension bracket could be shifted all the way back was because if I did not do that, this would be setting here, and that was going to limit my up travel on the lower link. By moving this rearward, now my suspension link can come upward. So now that I have you caught up on where we're at, we're going to continue building out the back half of this YJ. All right, so we're going to start by leveling the chassis. So I have these adjustable pipe stands. That looks good. So the frame rails are off slightly this way. So now that hindsight's 2020, what I should have done in this situation was weld a cross member in here before I cut the back portion off, and that would have kept everything square and straight. But we didn't. We'll learn. Hopefully you don't make that mistake, and we'll just have to do a bunch of measurements and make sure everything's good. So what I just did was mark the center of the body mount location because this is a known location. Now I can come and basically draw a line. That'll give me a good start point to measure back from. So now that I made my marks up here with the body mounts, that is a known measurement.
Then I can measure back from that. I'm going to knock this bracket back to where the edge of this lines up with this, and then I'll know that's the same part, and then that way these are equally on the chassis front to rear. So after doing some measurements, I found that this frame rail was about an 1/8 inch longer than this side. So we're going to trim this up, and then we should be able to move forward with mounting those brackets. Now we're going to check the fitment and see where this one lands. And then we'll match the other side to it. All right, so now we're going to tack the back half bracket to the frame. All right, so this is just one more reason why I love metalworking. So I'm gonna fix this gap. So I cut this back a little bit too much. So I'm just taking a scrap piece or the magnet, and I'm going to fill that in there. And then I'll tack weld that, and then I'll be able to weld all of that together, and it'll be structural again.
All better. All right, 5 hours later, and the frame rails are descaled, sanded all the mill scale off of them with the grinder, and then hit them with the DA, made them look all pretty. Now we have to make the cross members and then jig everything up on the table so everything's flat and square. Then we'll be taking this section of frame over to the chassis and sliding it into those brackets. We got the first cross member cut now, and these are going to be temporary until I figure out the chassis. Now we're going to measure out the second piece for the cross member back here. I'm thinking that this one will be more permanent. We're still just going to tack them just in case we have to move them after the chassis comes together down the road. But I'm hoping that this one is permanent, and that's why I'm using the rectangular versus just this piece of scrap of square tubing. Now that everything's squared and jigged out, we're going to go ahead and tack this frame section together. Let's go fit this thing up to the chassis. Lean this right here while we get the chassis ready. So they give us the measurements from Artec. So I just did some quick measurements, and the frame rails are too close together. So that's what I was saying, that I should have welded in a cross member temporarily to hold everything square, but I didn't. So we're going to use the high lift jack to spread these apart. They're kicked in about 1 inch right now, so we just need to spread them slightly, and then we will take that frame section and slide it into these brackets. I'm going to spray the inside of these brackets with some WD-40 just to help the frame rails slide in there. And after that, I'm going to have Mike help me with the high lift jack. I'm holding a block of wood on here so we can start spreading this apart. Let's go forward a little bit with it. Now let me flip that. Let's go down a little bit. All right, how's that? All right, we'll see where that puts us, which is right there. Okay. So now, let me see if I can. There we go. All right, at least I can hold it here. Now we just got to level it out. Sweet. All right, so that's a wrap for this weekend's project. We got to get to cleaning up. We got work tomorrow, and stay tuned. We're going to be working on this. We just got to the fun part of this project where we actually start to build something back. It's been a lot of work up to this point, getting it stripped down, getting the tub off of it, getting the back frame cut off. And now we have the rear section of the frame in place, squared up, and we're ready to start building the Jeep. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and follow along for more on this build.